It's got it. It's still disabled for me.
Yeah, I did not. Oh, okay, I see. Hold on, I'm going to fix it. I'll fix it. All right, I think you now have the rights, right?
No.
No, you don't.
I
Okay.
don't.
Now you do.
Yeah. Now I will have.
Yes.
And I will share my screen. And you can all
Okay.
see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Great. And are we just ready to begin?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay.
Please.
If I will begin with Mangalacharana Press.
Yes, you may.
But let me just thank you all very much for a very warm invitation to be with you all today. I really look forward to having your association. I think it's my first time engaging and connecting with all of you. So my great pleasure. Thank you so much. Om Jnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swaha Padantikam Vandehang Shri Guru Shri Uta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavangsha Shri Rupam Shagrajatam Shagana Raghunathanvitam Tvang Sajivam Sadavetam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gourangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vansha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Okay, so today we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, the first canto, chapter 18, text 3. The title of this chapter is Maharaj Parikshit Cursed by a Brahmana Boy. So far we've been introduced to Parikshit Maharaj. He's dealt with the age of Kali, and now in this chapter it begins by hearing about some of the glorifications, some of the qualities of Parikshit Maharaj, and then later on we hear how Parikshit Maharaj on his travels he tries to seek shelter in the house of a Muni, and not receiving the shelter that he was looking for to quench his thirst, to get some refreshment. The son of the Brahmana curses Parikshit Maharaj then to be bitten in 7 days' time. So that's the context in which we will look at this verse. Specifically, it's a glorification of Parikshit Maharaj. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So here is text 3. Utstritya sarvata sangham vigyata jita samstitihi vayashaker jaho sishyo Gangayam Swam Kalevaram. I'll do the word for word because there's always something we can pick up there. And Srila Prabhupada will give some specific emphasis in his purport to the word Ajita, and he bases the whole presentation on that word. Utsrijya, after leaving aside, Sarvataha, all around, Sangam, association, Vigyata, being understood, Ajita, one who is never conquered, the personality of Godhead, Samstiti, actual position, Vyashake, unto the son of Vyas, Jaho, gave up, Sishya, as a disciple, Gangayam, on the bank of the Ganges, Swam, his own, Kalevaram, material body. Translation. Furthermore, after leaving all his associates, the king surrendered himself as a disciple to the son of Vyas, Sukadeva Goswami, and thus he was able to understand the actual position of the personality of Godhead, and at last gave up his material body on the bank of the Ganges. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The word Ajita is significant here. The personality of Godhead, Shri Krishna, is known as Ajita, or unconquerable, and he is so in every respect. No one can know his actual position. He is unconquerable by knowledge also. We have heard about his dham, or place eternal Goloka Vrindavan, but there are many scholars who interpret this abode in different ways. But by the grace of the spiritual master, like Sukadeva Goswami, unto whom the king gave himself up as a most humble disciple, one is able to understand the actual position of the Lord, his eternal abode, his transcendental paraphernalia in that dham, or abode. Knowing the transcendental position of the Lord and the transcendental method by which one can approach that transcendental dham, the king was confident about his ultimate destination. And by knowing that he could leave aside everything material, even his own body, without any difficulty of attachment. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is stated, Param Dristva Nivartate. One can give up all connection with material attachment when one is able to see the Param, or the superior quality of things. From Bhagavad Gita, we understand the quality of the Lord's energy that is superior to the material quality of energy. And by the grace of a bona fide spiritual master like Sukadeva Goswami, it is quite possible to know everything of the superior energy of the Lord, by which the Lord manifests his eternal name, quality, pastimes, paraphernalia, and variegatedness. Unless one thoroughly understands this superior or eternal energy of the Lord, it is not possible to leave the material energy. However, one may theoretically speculate on the true nature of the absolute truth. By the grace of Lord Krishna, Maharaj Parikshit was able to receive the mercy of such a personality as Sukadeva Goswami, and thus he was able to know the actual position of the unconquerable Lord. It is very difficult to find the Lord from the Vedic literatures, but it is very easy to know him by the mercy of a liberated devotee like Sukadeva Goswami. Utsrijya sarvata sangam vigyata jita samstiti vyashaker jaho sishyo gangayam swam kalevaram. So Srila Prabhupada gives attention to this word Ajita, one who is never conquered, and that can only be the Supreme Personality of Godhead. However, we see this connection of the word Vigyata, or somebody who has understood. We also know from Gyan, meaning knowledge, and then Vigyan, realized knowledge. So we have this person who is Vigyata Jita, which means one who has actually not only realized the knowledge of who is the unconquerable, but who has actually realized the unconquerable, the supreme personality of Godhead. And that he has done purely by the grace of his spiritual master. And it's, I guess, not coincidental that we find such verses on such days in the Bhagavatam, but that given today's verse coincides with the focus of the grace of the spiritual master and the glorification of the spiritual master, it will be a pleasure to discuss a few things about what it means to have and how we can have the grace of the spiritual master. But before doing that, just one more comment on Ajita, because it's also the very special month of Kartik. And what we see throughout Bhagavatam and in so many other pastimes, and what we see in devotional life, is this battle between the devotee and Krishna. Who is going to conquer who? And, we see that very vividly as every day we meditate upon and recite Damodarastakam, and we hear about the glories of Mother Yashoda conquering Krishna with the ropes of love, conquering Krishna eventually by her endeavor and by his blessings, being able to tie him up. And Krishna behaving like an ordinary person, though it took great endeavor to bind the belly, which is the resting place of the entire creation of the material world. So that's another example of this tussle between a loving tussle between the Lord and his devotees, who is going to conquer who, even though the Lord is not conquerable. He can only be approached, he can only be conquered, he can only be understood by this love, this bhakti, bhaktyamam abhijanati. But here in this verse, as we reflect on the perfection of Parikshit Maharaj, his qualification for becoming Vigyatajita, knowing about and understanding about this unconquerable supreme personality of Godhead, is, as the verse says, the king surrendered himself as a disciple to the son of Vyasa. And in the purport, let me highlight this line by Srila Prabhupada: by the grace of a spiritual master. So Srila Prabhupada's talking about the various aspects of the unconquerable, the holy Dham, Goloka Vrindavan, and all associated aspects of that. But all of that is being understood here and being revealed here to Parikshit Maharaj by the grace of the spiritual master. And Srila Prabhupada emphasizes the king gave himself up. And that phrase in itself is quite interesting. Even the word surrender is interesting when we hear the word surrender. Sarva dharman parityaja mam ekam sharanam. So Prabhupada uses the word surrender, surrender unto me. Yet the word sharanam maybe is a little softer in terms of how we hear the word sharanam and how we hear the word surrender. Surrender sounds a little, okay, you've got to do it. You've just got to, and as Prabhupada says here, give yourself up. It's almost like you're criminalizing the person. The police use that language: surrender yourself, give yourself up. Yet the word sharanam is just full of so much beauty, so much love, so much compassion, as we think about taking shelter at the lotus feet of Krishna. So Prabhupada gives us this very urgent and very immediate language by which to awaken our kind of sleeping consciousness, so that we take it more seriously. Surrender yourself. Oh, okay. Give yourself up. And ultimately, we're being invited to give ourselves up from conditioned life and accept the path of experiencing our constitutional life. And we see that through the pages of Bhagavad Gita. Arjuna is in his conditioned life right at the beginning, Shishyasteham Shadimam Tvam Prapanam. He becomes a humble disciple, humble devotee. You please tell me, Lord, what should I do? How should I enact this challenging duty that faces me right now? And chapter after chapter, Krishna is speaking for the benefit of Arjuna. And even before the end of Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna expresses at the beginning of chapter 11 that he feels, my illusion is now gone. And then there's an opportunity to understand further more about Krishna, all the way from the universal form to his personal confidential form. And then right at the end of Bhagavad Gita, Nasta Moha, I am fully free of my illusion. I am firm. I have regained my memory, and I'm ready to do as you wish. So this transformation, which comes from the becoming qualified as a shishya. We hear that word in this verse. Arjuna uses that word, shishya, shishyasteham. And Srila Prabhupada's language, the king gave himself up as a most humble disciple. So this lends itself very well for us to use our time today, and an opportunity for me to share and for me to, appreciate Srila Prabhupada. And I wish to do that with a very special song that we sing every single day. And a song that we sing specifically as we observe Srila Prabhupada's disappearance, at the time that it took place. Here in the UK, it will be around 7:20 p.m., a few hours away from now. So let us have this meditation on this very special, beautiful song, Gurvastakam, as we glorify the spiritual master. Specifically for us, we glorify Founder Acharya, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada in this Gurvastakam. Gurvastakam is a set of prayers, 8 prayers, we sing right at the beginning of the day. And just to give you an overview of the prayers, I was just thinking about, and every time I think about these prayers, I like to think about them, how this prayer glorifies the spiritual master, glorifies Srila Prabhupada. Right at the beginning, it establishes the glorious position of who is this guru and what is this person offering? What relationship are we actually entering into with this person? And that's given in verse 1, and I'll elaborate on that in a moment. And then for a sequence of verses, we hear the variety of gifts and treasures that the spiritual master engages, offers, bestows upon the disciple. And we see through Gurvastakam how it see those various elements. Purpose, his mission, and how he has benedicted us by bringing us closer in Krishna's service. So in this first verse, Sangsara Davana Lidaloka Tranaya Karunya Ganaganatvam Praptasya Kalyana Gunana Varsya Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam. Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam. So I'm offering my vandana, my prayers, my obeisances unto the lotus feet of the spiritual master. Now, isn't it amazing that if we reflect on the start of our day, we whether we're having a Mangalarti at home, whatever time that might be, whether we're running to the temple to get there in time for the conch blowing and the curtains opening to offer us darshan of the beautiful lordships, we offer our obeisances, we stand and we behold the deities before us. And the first word that we utter is samsara. The first word of the day is a reminder of where I am, where am I situated, Of course, we're standing in the beautiful temple room, which is Vaikuntha, but we remind ourselves of my conditioned state in this cycle of repeated birth and death. I'm immersed in this samsara. And I begin my day by reminding myself that the spiritual master is the one who, through his benediction, who like a rain cloud, pouring his compassion, extinguishing this blazing fire of material existence, and I'm offering my obeisances to this person. So I remind myself that actually, even though I'm in a very spiritually surcharged environment, in the association of devotees engaged in service, I'm freeing myself from this affliction to the material world. And I'm freeing myself from that affliction by the blessings, by the mercy, by the compassion of the spiritual master. And just like a rain cloud, he continues to pour his mercy upon me. So this becomes our immediate meditation first thing in the morning. As we begin to sing this song, we position right in center of preparing for our day. We position our relationship with our spiritual master. We position our relationship with Srila Prabhupada. And then we begin to meditate. What is it that Srila Prabhupada's given us? What is it so unique about his mission, the fact that he left India to come, to come and go all over the world. And in every place he went, he emphasized, his emphasis was very, very consistent. So his first emphasis, his first treasure and gift that he has bestowed upon us, Mahaprabhu Kirtana Nitra Gita Vaditra Madhyan Manaso Rasena Romanchakam Pashrutaranga Bhajo Vande Guru Shri Charanara Vindam. We know that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has come to this world to bring us the love of the spiritual world, that love which can be experienced by chanting the holy names of Krishna. The name of Krishna is Krishna. Nam Nam, Nam Nam. Gosh, I forget the next line. Mahaprabhu says in the second verse of Shikshashtakam that Krishna's name is non-different. And so Srila Prabhupada traveled all over the world. Every festival, every temple opening, every deity installation, every initiation, every gathering. And even when he was alone in New York, sitting under a tree, playing his little drum, Mahaprabhu Kirtana, he was singing, he was immersed, he was sharing Mahaprabhu Kirtana, the chanting of the holy names of the Lord, and being gladdened by the Sankirtan movement of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And as a result of being gladdened, teaching his devotees all over the world to chant the holy name, to dance in ecstasy, to sing, to play musical instruments, and to create a real engagement for themselves and an engagement of opportunity to share the beauty of the holy name, the presence of the holy name with whoever they come in touch with. And for the spiritual master, we offer our obeisances because the spiritual master is relishing. And because he's relishing this, we accept that the spiritual master has his bhav, his emotions, his entire focus and attention on the holy name of Krishna. And Srila Prabhupada one time showed a glimpse of this just during singing Radha Madhava, where he paused, and some devotees who were close to him said there was a pause, and they experienced an emotion they hadn't seen in Srila Prabhupada prior to that. And then Srila Prabhupada came out of that pause and just said, chant Hare Krishna. So Srila Prabhupada was careful in his public expression of that deep love for Krishna that he carried all over the world. But for some disciples who were very close they comment on how they experience that. So the first and foremost gift of Srila Prabhupada is the holy name. Out of the limbs of devotional practice, Rupa Goswami gives us 64. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, out of those 64, says that there are 5 prominent and most potent ones. But he says the most important association with devotees, living in a holy place, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, worshipping the deity. He said the most important is chanting the holy name. So we, in our second meditation of the day, we remind ourselves, I am in samsara. The spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, is the rain cloud of mercy upon me. And my first step in receiving that mercy is to receive the holy name of Krishna. Then we move on to our third meditation in Gurvastakam. Shri Vigrahara Dhana Nityanana Shringhara Tan Mandira Marjanado. So Shri Vigraha, this is the beautiful form of Krishna. So we're chanting the holy name. And now Srila Prabhupada introduces us to the form of the holy name, the beautiful form of Krishna. And we know that Srila Prabhupada opened temples, he installed deities, he gave the worship of Krishna directly to us. And in this picture, this is Radha Landaneshwara being installed in 1969 in London, here in the UK. Very momentous, significant time for Srila Prabhupada. Within a year, practically, of devotees being in the UK, Srila Prabhupada was opening a Radha Krishna temple. And even today, that it's called the Radha Krishna temple. And of course, the George Harrison and the devotees made the record, the Radha Krishna temple album. And Prabhupada gave the name Landaneshwara. And he said, I have captured Krishna. And practically, literally he did. One Hindu gentleman had invited devotees to see the Radha Krishna deities that he had in his home, in hope of setting up a temple one day. But he wanted to show Prabhupada the deities, and there was some minor blemish on them, and he was not so keen to keep them. But Srila Prabhupada looked at them, and he motioned to Tamal Krishna Maharaj, let's take them. And here they are. They became Shri Radha Landaneshwara. But significantly, Srila Prabhupada said, I have captured Krishna here and brought him here for you. Now you serve him nicely. So how do we serve? Shringhara. We dress the Radha and Krishna. We dress Gaur Nitai. We dress Jagannath. Shringhara. We give full attention to that Shringhara in dressing, or we support that in whichever way we might be engaged in Pujari service. And then we serve within the temple, we clean the temple, we maintain the beautiful environment, spiritual environment of Krishna's dham. Prabhupada talks about dham in the purport. The temple is a dham of Krishna. Krishna is present. So Prabhupada is immediately, he's given us the treasure of the holy name, and now he's giving us the treasure of keeping us very, very busy, keeping us busy in the worship of Krishna, looking after Krishna's temple, which is a dham, serving that dham in so many different ways, receiving guests who come to that dham, bringing people to see Krishna, and taking the message of the dham out into the vicinity of the dham. So this cleaning is very, I find, marginado, very interesting. In the third canto, when we hear about the descriptions of Vaikuntha, we hear that the women in Vaikuntha are sweeping the steps, though there is no dust. And just with that meditation, we can approach the cleaning in the temple. Why? They clean the steps of Vaikuntha because there's no, even though there is no dust, because it is pleasing to Vishnu. So cleaning the temple at the end of the day, cleaning the temple after an event, cleaning the temple after the festival, just cleaning is Chaito Darpano Marjanam. Our heart is being cleansed in that process, because everything Srila Prabhupada says these temples are Vaikuntha. So we get an opportunity to engage in that Vaikuntha service. And even at home, we have our deities. We may have the deity manifest in whatever form that might be, including that of a picture. And we offer items to the deities, we serve them. And so that place becomes a very special arena. And so the spiritual master is busy engaging all of us in such worship. And so therefore we offer our obeisances to Srila Prabhupada for giving us this second gift, the holy name, and now the worship of Krishna. And the worship of Krishna isn't complete without offering Krishna foodstuffs. So our fourth meditation, Chaturvida Shri Bhagavat Prasada, Svad Anatriptan Hari Bhakta Sangan, Kritvaiva Triptin Bhajata Sadeva, Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam. Srila Prabhupada taught disciples how to cook, how to put together various preparations in a particular order, what should be offered, and he teaches that there are Chaturvida, 4 types of food: sucked, drink, licked, sucked, and drunk. And these different foodstuffs come together to create a variety of combination. We're just coming out of Govardhan Puja celebration, where Krishna gives a long list of things he likes to eat and things that should be offered to Govardhan. Of course, he asked for that to be offered to Govardhan and then later accepted them himself by becoming Govardhan. So this offering of food is a very integral part of serving Krishna. Krishna becomes a part of our life. He becomes central to our life. Whatever we may have, we offer that to Krishna first. And this is a principal instruction of bhakti that we receive from Bhagavad Gita. But the spiritual master takes this further by engaging us in how to not only offer, but also how to eat, how to honor. And Srila Prabhupada spiritualized all of our lives. He took the idea of eating and turned it into honoring. And when he sees devotees offer the food items and then honor the food items with attention, he becomes pleased just by that activity. So prasadam, that's Srila Prabhupada's next treasure and gift that he has given us, which is our fourth meditation of the day. So we're halfway in Gurvastakam. Srila Prabhupada is the mercy cloud, lifting us up, extinguishing the fire of samsara. Srila Prabhupada does that by giving us the gift of the holy name. He brings us closer to Krishna by giving us the worship, personal worship of Krishna. He describes and defines and becomes engladdened of how we offer food and how we honor that prasadam. And then Sri Radhika Madhavayorapada Madhurya Lila Guna Rupanam Nam Pratikshanashva Dhanalolopasya Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam. Srila Prabhupada is very eager to hear and chant about the unlimited conjugal pastimes of Radhika and Madhava. And here I purposefully choose the picture of Srila Prabhupada translating Srimad Bhagavatam. Very famous picture, very famous image. And when we watch the videos and hear the clicking of the dictation machine, each click for us is an expression of our gratitude to him for giving us transcendental sound, transcendental word, transcendental revelation of the Dham, and progressive revelation of who Krishna is. Krishna's Naam, Krishna's name, Rupa, Krishna's form, Krishna's guna, Krishna's qualities, and then the manifestation of Krishna's beautiful pastimes. And just as this month we absorb ourselves in 10th canto and hearing of Mother Yashoda and Damodar and reading Srila Prabhupada's purports that give us the philosophical basis, yet also nourish our attraction and affection for Krishna in this very special month. And that's Srila Prabhupada's giving us Sri Radhika Madhava Europada. But Srila Prabhupada himself, pratik shana. Shana means moment. And pratik shana vadana lolopasya. He himself is very eager to relish. He's not just writing it and giving it, but he's relishing it. You know, we may have heard that Prabhupada would ask disciples to read Krishna book, read Srimad Bhagavatam, read it to him. Or he would pick up his book and he would read. Why? Because he's relishing. He's relishing, not his writing, he's relishing the Nama, Rupa, Guna, Lila, completely immersed. Kshana, at every moment. Pradikshana. Just relishing every moment by moment by moment. And who is Srila Prabhupada's quality? Lolopasya. Very eager to do this. Very eager to do this. And therefore, having received the gift of Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, Chaitanya Charitamrita, which opens up the windows to this Dham that Srila Prabhupada speaks of, and the personalities of the Dham, the personalities of Krishna, Radharani, the Gopis, Mahaprabhu, and all of their associates, we offer our most respectful obeisances to Srila Prabhupada for this extraordinary gift of Srimad Bhagavatam and the pastimes of Krishna. And staying with the pastimes of Krishna, our next meditation, Nikunjayono Ratikeli Siddhai, Yayali Bhir Yuktir Apekshaniya. So the spiritual master is, we just heard about him being relishing the pastimes of Krishna at every moment. And now we hear that he's making arrangements for those transcendental pastimes. He's assisting the associates of Radha and Krishna, the associates of the Lord, to make tasteful arrangements for the Lord's pastimes. And this verse links to Prabhupada's mission of bringing people back to Krishna. Prabhupada's slogan of back to Godhead, by the austerity he performed, the devotees he inspired, the mission he had driven, encouraging people, bring people back to Krishna, awaken their dormant love for Krishna, engage them back in Krishna's service. Because every living being is unique. Every living being is individual. And whatever unique and individual relationship that every living being has with Krishna cannot be replaced by anybody else. That's how unique and individual every living being is. So when we adopt a life of compassion and bring others back to Krishna, that contributes to bringing this person back in their service, back in their constitution, and further completing the service that we can offer to Krishna. So having been picked up by Srila Prabhupada's message, and now becoming assistants to Srila Prabhupada and his followers, we offer our respectful obeisances that we may serve as an instrument in fulfilling this mission, in serving Krishna, in enhancing those wonderful, tasteful arrangements of bringing people back to Krishna. So the holy name is a gift, serving Krishna, Krishna's form is a gift, offering food and receiving that prasadam is a gift, being absorbed in transcendental sound, reading, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, and all the other literature is a gift, all bringing us out of samsara, all bringing us out of the grave affliction that's described in the first verse. And now we meditate on the intimate relationship that Krishna has with such a person, that Krishna has with such a guru and acharya. Sakshad dharitveina samasta shastre yuktas tatha bhavyata eva sadvi kintu prabhu ya priya eva tasya. So the spiritual master is the confidential servitor of the Lord. And so therefore, he is honored as good as the Supreme Lord. We're very careful in our philosophical understanding not to equate the Guru to the Supreme Lord, but to honor the Guru as the Supreme Lord. They're very, very different ideas and very complete idea of honoring the spiritual master as much as the Supreme Lord, honoring the Vyasa Puja day, honoring every day with pranam prayers, and honoring every day by remembering Guru Astakam and the beautiful gifts that are revealed as a meditation in each of these verses. And we do this because it's authorized. You know, the revealed scriptures state the authority behind which we have this relationship with the Guru as good as honored, to be honored as good as honoring the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then our final meditation, and Srila Prabhupada uses a line from this verse in the purport, the grace of the spiritual master. By the grace of the spiritual master, Parikshit Maharaj achieved that perfection by the grace of Sukadev Goswami. So Yashya Prasada, Bhagavat Prasado. And here Prasada means grace or mercy, blessing even. Yashya Prasadan Nagati Kutopi. So by the mercy of the spiritual master, one receives the benediction of Krishna. And we see that in this verse with Parikshit, the mercy of Sukadev Goswami, giving up in surrender to Sukadev Goswami as a humble disciple. Parikshit Maharaj received that grace, received that benediction of Krishna. And despite being cursed to be killed in 7 days, he knew his destination very well. He was convinced, completely faithful of that destination. And it's emphasized again, Yasya Prasada Nagati. Gati means to go, to achieve. Parikshit Maharaj was getting ready to leave this world. Gati, Param Gati, you know, to enter the supreme abode, the supreme destination. Gati also means destination. Yasya Prasad Nagati Kuto, but without the grace of Sukadev Goswami, that wasn't going to happen. And same for us, without the grace of Srila Prabhupada. How would we have known that there is a gift of the holy name, that there is a gift of serving Krishna, that there is a gift of hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, that there is a gift of offering food, and the gift of bringing others back to experience these very same gifts? Without the Yasya Prasadam, without that mercy of the Guru, Nagati, we would not have known, we would not have realized, and we cannot go further in our spiritual destination. So dhyayan stupam stasya yasya trisandiham. 3 means 3. So at least 3 times a day, I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of my spiritual master, onto the lotus feet of Srila Prabhupada. Of course, for those of us who are second initiated and have to chant Gayatri, that's what this refers to. But for every devotee, there is no harm. In the morning, we wake up, we get out of bed, we offer obeisances, we chant the pranams to our Guru. We begin our services, we may pause for lunchtime, we chant pranams. End of the day, we chant pranams. Before taking rest, we chant pranams and offer our day service back to our spiritual master. At the end of each day, we offer gratitude. Thank you for the holy name. Thank you for the worship of Krishna. Thank you for prasadam. Thank you for Srimad Bhagavatam. Thank you for engaging me in your service, in your mission. And therefore, I honor you as good as Krishna. And by your mercy, I make progress. So this is our meditation for today. We are indebted to Srila Prabhupada. We dive deep in our immersion, in our remembrance of him. We become reminded of the gifts that he brings us And this beautiful verse of Parikshit Maharaj, this quality of Parikshit Maharaj giving himself up to the spiritual master, reminds us of how Srila Prabhupada immediately gave himself up to his spiritual master's instruction. Go take Krishna consciousness all over the world. He did. And today we have it. I'm sitting in the UK, you're sitting in Africa, there may be other devotees elsewhere. And just the presence of all of us on the Zoom call is a glorification of the gifts that we have received of Srila Prabhupada. So we honor and remember him today and enter into this meditation as a deep opportunity for us to stay in that meditation every day as we engage with these beautiful gifts of spiritual life. Hare Krishna, thank you all so much for your attention. Maybe I'll come out of sharing and see if there are, maybe hear some of your meditations for today or any questions that you may have.
Hare Krishna, thank you so much. His Grace Pradyumna Prabhu. We are very, very grateful for sharing this samsara prayers with us, even though we chanted every morning, but some of us before today had not gone much deeper into it as you did. So we thank you very much for that. Dear devotees, if anyone has a question, please kindly unmute and then you ask your question to Prabhuji.
Or even if it's a meditation for today's
If it's a meditation for today's observance too, you may share that. As Prabhuji was saying. See, I do not want to talk much about Srila Prabhupada. One, I did not meet Srila Prabhupada in person, but I hear so much about him from his direct disciples. And like I was saying yesterday, I've watched his disappearance. Of course, today is his disappearance. I've watched his disappearance twice, and it's difficult to watch it again. Now, it's more or less like I keep repeating myself because I can't seem to understand why Lord Krishna oftentimes will see his dearest devotee go through so much pain. And I wouldn't say he's careless or he's unconcerned, but I believe Lord Krishna could do more. But I'm sure everyone who has watched Srila Prabhupada's final days could attest how difficult it is watching it. But I don't know why Krishna allows a situation like that to happen. Whereas in other denominations and other schools of thought, the leaders sometimes we just sit down, call close loved ones together and tell them, all right, it's time for me to give up and I'm going to go. And they leave their bodies. So easy. I don't know why Krishna prefers to see his devotees go through what they go through. Hare Krishna. That's my reflection.
Yeah. Well, Krishna does that to glorify his devotees. After the Battle of Kurukshetra, Bhishma, Yudhishthira Maharaj was feeling quite guilty. He was feeling quite responsible for the killing of so many soldiers, millions of soldiers. And so he wanted to take that to Krishna. Why did we have to go through this? For what purpose? For a kingdom? I did this for a kingdom. So he was feeling quite the guilt for that. And Krishna says, well, let us take this question to Bhishma. And they all go and see him. He's still alive. He's still lying on the bed of arrows. But then there's a sequence of reflection. Some people might say, that we suffer. We generally know the philosophy that we suffer in this world because of karma. But then the Pandavas were righteous. So what karma were they kind of burning? They were sons of the Devas, very pure devotees of Krishna. So that suffering could not be a result of karma. So could the result then be kala? Bhishma uses the word kala, kaloshmi, I am time. But Bhishma said, because of inevitable time, all of this has taken place. But we also hear in Srimad Bhagavatam that time doesn't affect the pure devotees. Time only impacts those who are materially absorbed. But time for the devotees is an opportunity. It's a liberating experience. So time doesn't bind the devotees. So then the ultimate reason is the Pandavas were always with Krishna. Srila Prabhupada was always with Krishna. So the only reason can be that it was Krishna who arranged for that so-called suffering. Because look how it excelled the Pandavas. Look what they were able to do as a result of the challenges, the evil kind of meted out by the Duryodhana and his brothers. It created an opportunity for the Pandavas to be glorified. So Srila Prabhupada and his passing, his challenge, his difficulty, not only in passing, he was, left India at 69, 2 heart attacks on the ship while out in the stormy ocean on his way to the US. That's all to glorify his pure devotee. So for the devotee, we accept that whatever good comes my way is Krishna's grace, and whatever challenges I may have. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, difficulty is the source of my joy. But Krishna is looking for an opportunity to glorify his devotees. So Krishna sees something else, his pure devotees see something else. We may also see something else in being able to fathom and understand the suffering of pure devotees in this world.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. I'm laughing to myself because I just listened to one of Srila Prabhupada's memories shared by one of his disciples. I think his name is Bhaktadas. And he was sharing that he was sharing that one time he was with Srila Prabhupada and he was saying something in line with along the lines where he was saying, Srila Prabhupada, devotional service is difficult. And Srila Prabhupada says, do you want it to be easy? If it's easy, then it means you don't want to have Krishna. It has to be difficult. But again, why should it have to be so difficult? Up to the point that, of course, we know that if even one can have the ability to do all the sadhanas that we are recommended to do, one still may not have Krishna if Krishna's mercy is not there. But the question is, why should it be so difficult? We are asked to be austere, why should it be so austere? I remember some time ago, some of us in our early days in devotional service, we were so scared to even use Sankirtan money to buy ice water to drink. I mean, like cold water to drink. When you go out to distribute books, you're so scared, this is Krishna's Lakshmi. I cannot use it to buy water to drink. But if you can shed some light on why these principles are there for our own good, especially because we are in this material world. Because sometimes it's kind of bewildering as to why we have to go through such disciplines to possibly attain Krishna.
Because we're in a foreign state right now. We've taken on foreign qualities. We're interwoven with goodness, passion, and ignorance, and that creates certain combinations. It creates certain habits, and we've been doing that for a very, very, very long time. And therefore, when we come before the principles of Krishna consciousness, it feels, what, really? Get up early? Really? That's going to be difficult. And then we have the rules, follow certain rules, eat certain foods, live in a specific way, try to become pure in thought and behavior, follow the principles of religion, dharma, austerity, purity, compassion, truthful. These principles, we use the word discipline, but it's the reorientation back into allowing us to enter our real situation. So when a person is diseased, to get them free of that disease, we have to say to them, look, you're going to have to live in a particular environment. You're going to have to eat particular types of foods. You're going to have to avoid certain activities that enhances that disease that you're going through right now. You're feeling pain because you're in a disease state. But if you follow the prescription, you can become free of that disease state. And coming free of that disease state is, it can take time. It's certainly going to be painful. But the more one follows the order, the prescription, the given instruction for coming out of a disease state, the more one can experience, I'm actually becoming free from that because I'm following the rules and orders of the physician, of the doctor. So whenever we assume a foreign imposition on ourselves, imposition of identity, impositions of certain behavior, thoughts, and so on, to then enter into our natural state and position is inevitably going to take time, just like the diseased person becoming healthy again.
Thank you so much for the analogy. It helps me. It helps a lot. Yeah.
So it's something we did to ourselves. We created our own conditioning, and now we're finding it hard to become free of it, to get back to our natural constitution. It's a bit of hard work, but our endeavor, again, as we reflect on Kartik, Krishna sees our endeavor, our following of the rules, our following of spiritual master's instructions, and then Krishna gives a blessing to bring us closer to complete that tying of the rope, to complete whatever we may be lacking.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So Srimad Prabhu, please give me unmute. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, my humble obeisances, Pradyumna
Prabhu,
Prabhu,
Hare Krishna.
and to
Hare
all the
Krishna.
devotees. All glories to Prabhupada. Thank you very much for your nice meditations, especially on Guru Vastaka. But before you went into the Guru Vastaka meditation, you spoke about surrender and trying to explain surrender in the loving aspect, in contrast to surrender like by force. Now, my concern is we know that we need the grace of the spiritual master to be able to cross over the ocean of samsara. And yes, we need to surrender to him, to his instructions, just like Arjuna did to Krishna. However, we found that surrender to a guru or surrender to the process, a very difficult process. Of course, when we are in love, when we're in love with the person, then there's no pain. Then we don't see even the process has been difficult. Just like we learned that there's nothing as difficult as something we don't want to do. And there's nothing so easy as something we really love to do. Now, my question is that the process of surrender is actually getting more difficult in an institution. When Prabhupada was there, all those who interacted with him, they saw it as a labor of love. They surrendered wholeheartedly with their heart, because there was that personal connection, and they could feel Prabhupada. There was, even when there was an attack on the movement for what brainwashing or something, devotees were not concerned, because they could see that they were doing this out of love for Prabhupada. But when the institution has become so big, and there is less and less of this personal touch between guru and disciple, and it becomes difficult seeing that type of surrender in the first place, because most people probably may be taking initiation just as like a mode, like it's in the mode. Okay, but the personal connection is there. It's not very much felt. And then the institutional structure also sometimes may make devotees, or not just even devotees, may make the whole process looks like exploitation, because people don't feel that love that's supposed to exist between the guru and the disciple. And now they just feel like you are in a society that asks you to give up everything and do everything and forget about yourself. I mean, are you crazy? So what I want you to help us to understand better is, how do we bridge this gap from the personal touch to an institutional setup that is becoming more of the order of the day, because the society is growing bigger and bigger? That is my question. Thank you.
Wow, I think the answer to that is a workshop for a number of days. I think I hear the question clearly. I empathize with the context in which you speak, and something that managers and leaders across ISKCON have given much thought to, and continue to give much thought to. How do we maintain that personal connection and touch? By creating a structure that allows that personal touch to be in place. We may not, even with Srila Prabhupada, it's not that every single one of his disciples met with him or had personal time with him. In the later years, a lot of the disciples were receiving initiation by letter. But Srila Prabhupada created the structure of serve within your local sangha. Work cooperatively within where you happen to be. Take the association of devotees who are within your vicinity at this point in time. That's what Krishna has arranged for us. So I think the first point is that we already have a structure, or a personal structure, the relationship with the guru. And even if that relationship is remote, we make it personal because we're serving representatives of Guru. Who brought me into Krishna consciousness? That person is very different to the person from whom I surrendered and took initiation. Then who is the person that I'm serving under? Who do I report to in my service? So the person who gave me Krishna consciousness is a guru. The person I'm serving under is a guru. The person I might learn scripture from in my local community is a guru. And not that the idea of guru is just limited to Diksha or one person, but that the idea of guru is plural, and that we actually enter into a plural relationship with senior people, with peers from whom we nurture our faith, from whom we learn how to grow, from whom we take guidance and instruction. And so therefore we continue to be in the mood of a disciple when we are engaging and interacting with devotees within and across our community. And that way we experience that personal connection. So I think the first part of your question is how to shift that mindset that my guru is remote and I'm not seeing him, to actually my guru who's remote, my Diksha guru, but I have many gurus who represent my guru, who represent Srila Prabhupada, from whom I begin to learn, and I can create those personal connections. At least one, at least two within my vicinity, I should be able to create those personal connections. If we're unable to create any connection locally from other devotees in whom we can invest faith, from whom we can learn, then that's certainly going to be a challenge. But at least, have in our life one, two, a few people with whom we can create. And it doesn't need an institution to create that for us. We create that for us in terms of the relationships we build with devotees we're working with, devotees we serve with, devotees we may live near, and we create that arena of nurturing, an arena of exchange, reciprocation. And as we know from nectar instruction, sharing prasadam, sharing confidential thoughts, exchanging gift, and so on, that is all at a personal level. It can only be at a personal level. And we don't have to wait for any institutional adjustment in order to begin to experience that love, that affection, that personal community. We can do it instantly in terms of where we are with who we're with. Does that help?
Yes, Prabhu. But I have a follow-up. Like when Prabhupada was there, and the devotees had to, sacrifice so much for the mission, and they saw how much Prabhupada was appreciative, and they were also the devotees felt obliged to do everything, to give him everything. But with time, you don't see that level of reciprocation, of appreciation, because devotees, in the absence of Prabhupada, they experienced, or they start experiencing, a kind of impersonal structure where everything seems to belong to nobody. And you start seeing what they've seen, what they've worked for, being lost through negligence or through weak leadership. And that becomes very discouraging. And now the question comes, so why are we doing all this? When those who are in charge do not have that kind of feeling of protection and, or at least maintaining what Prabhupada has given. So this happens with time, because the founder Acharya, those who were the early assistant of Prabhupada who helped him to make these things happen, are no longer there. And those who are there today, they just enjoy the position and honor. But they do not seem to show that kind of concern for protecting the legacy of Prabhupada. So that becomes a very serious and a disturbing issue. What do we do in that situation?
Well, I think, I don't know, it may sound like...
Excuse me, Prabhuji, before you answer this, I would like to add a word to what Prabhuji just asked, because we've had quite a number of speakers on this particular platform, and lots of them are quite senior devotees. And what they usually say is that, who are you? Who are you to protect what? You cannot protect anything. Only Krishna can protect. And so with this mindset, people generally do not have this concept of making any effort to protecting anything belonging to the organization. Hare Krishna.
Well, I won't offer that as my answer then.
No.
Offering that as an answer.
No. I'm saying I'm adding to his question because he talked about lapse in protecting what Srila Prabhupada has created for us. Now, somebody may be in the position to protect it, but they are not doing as such. And I'm just telling you that some probably are not doing that because I've heard from some senior devotees say that you are an ordinary devotee. What can you protect? And with this mindset, they just get lapsed. But I do not think that that is a devotional service, that who are you to protect what? And so you just sit down and see everything go wrong.
I think the question is in the realm of leadership and management within our organization, and I'm not sure whether this is really the right platform to be, trying to unpack something without knowing the context and the detail, and the project, because it would need a very specific, our principles in Krishna consciousness is we look after everything that Krishna's given us. Our principles in Krishna consciousness is that we offer respect to all devotees and we care for them when we nurture them. And our principles in Krishna consciousness is, for ISKCON, is that we create an environment where people can grow in Krishna consciousness. And that way we have a very simple approach to nurturing and growing and keeping Krishna in our life. But I think what you're describing to me, it does sound quite painful, and it sounds like it needs a very specific and contextual attention on the arena of leadership and management and senior people looking at whatever situation that you're describing and giving that some needed attention. So I want to kind of position that and see what work can be done in that arena without kind of getting into unpacking that even further in this platform. But another way to look at this is if we don't see something that's correct or right, another way to approach that is, what am I doing as a contributor to that, or as a person who can uplift through Krishna consciousness in that situation? Am I being able to speak openly and honestly? Am I Krishna conscious? Am I fixed in my practice? Am I setting the example that I wish to see within the context that we might be describing? And if I'm not, then let's work on that. Let me become an agent of the change that I want to see around me. Let me become that Krishna conscious person. Let me become that personal individual giving time at a personal level. Let me be the person that looks after things. And sometimes we may not be able to change a situation because we may not have the authority or the leadership, but real leadership is the example that each and every one of us can set for others around us. And whether they follow, whether they don't follow, it is the example that Krishna wants to see of us, that we uphold the principles, we uphold the honor, we uphold in what needs to be done in the right way. And that will become attractive, and that will give attention to those who want to know, how do you get on with, how do you can maintain this? How do you kind of have this equilibrium and this Krishna consciousness. And then gradually you'll be creating a culture around that. So I think let's personalize it. How can I make a difference? Even if I make a difference for one person, I'm making a difference. So what can I do to contribute to making a better environment, a better culture, a better perspective of Krishna consciousness in whichever difficult, challenging situation we might find ourselves?
Hare Krishna, thank you so much, Prabhuji, for the answer. His Grace Srimad Prabhu's question. I don't think he was asking for a specific answer, because like you rightly said, a question like that, if one does not know the actual context, is very difficult to give a clear-cut answer. So
Right.
I think what he was asking is just a general view of what we sometimes find in different parts of ISKCON, because there are many of us on this platform and we are scattered all over. It's beautiful. Srila Prabhupada has made this international, truly international, because different people from different countries. And we see the same thread through different places, but we believe that we can do better. So thank you for the answer, because it helps a lot. Shri Govinda Prabhu, please, you may unmute.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, we
Hare
can
Krishna.
hear you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandava pranams to you and my pranams to all the devotees. And thank you very much for the wonderful class. Perfect answers coming up, and it's very, very helpful. Thank you very much. I have two questions. The first question is that I heard you talking about karma. We've been in this arena, material arena, for quite some time. And so we come back, we've created the difficulty that we are facing. That is the right word you use. And when we talk of karma, we have acted already. In this lifetime, we are acting. And our actions now is going to be judged. Like Krishna says, there's judgment after death. So we have to go to the court of Yamaraj. And the Yamaraj have to assess the activity that we performed and give us the adequate reaction to our actions. Is that true?
Yeah, that's generally the law of karma. In simplistic terms, we do good, we get good, we do bad, we get bad. However, in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, text 17, Krishna kind of positions it very interestingly. We try to figure out why is this happening to me? What could I have done to get this? What reaction am I receiving for whatever action I don't understand what I performed? So Krishna says the intricacy of karma, the intricacy of action, is very difficult to understand. Why something is happening to a particular person at this point in time. What activity did they do to kind of have this kind of experience? It's going to take a long time to unfathom that, and we may never ever fathom that at all. And so Krishna says it's the intricacy. It's very, very difficult to understand. Thank you for sharing the verse. Karmano hi api bodhavyam cha vikarmanaha. So he said, instead of trying to figure out what are the intricacies of action, why am I here, how did this happen, why am I experiencing what I'm experiencing, Krishna says, therefore one should know properly what action is, what forbidden action is, and what inaction is. Now, the entire function of the law of karma is for individuals to take responsibility for their actions. So Krishna's now giving us, how do we take responsibility? Well, you should know what is action, what is forbidden action and what is inaction, and begin to live your life now that you have knowledge that I can redefine how I behave. I begin to take responsibility for my actions, and what is it that I need to perform right now? Well, we all agree that we stay away from forbidden action because the result of forbidden action is very detrimental, especially detrimental to our spiritual consciousness. We perform action, which leads to piety. We perform dutiful actions, prescribed duties of this world, occupations of the body, occupations of livelihood, occupations within relationship, and they're all meant to be performed. But the result of those, and when they're only performed at the material level, is only within this world. And even though they may be pious credits for following through on prescribed duty, that piety is only to be experienced in this world. And eventually that piety runs out, and we need to kind of increase the stock of piety. But the third aspect of action, Krishna says one must know what inaction is, akarma. And akarma is that action that does not receive a reaction. And that action which does not receive a reaction is that action which is completely dedicated in mind and in consciousness and with full heart to Krishna. So once we know, look, trying to figure out why I have this body, why I have a big fat nose, why I have these challenges, okay, I accept Krishna wants me to learn something. But Krishna is saying, trying to figure that out, it's too difficult. It's intricate. But instead, know what action is, what's good karma, know what forbidden action is, but also know, most importantly, what action can you perform in this world that doesn't keep you bound to this world? What action can you connect? What action can you perform that connects you to Krishna and raises you above this world? So that you don't no longer have to create repeated action and repeated reaction. Is that okay? Does that help, Prabhu?
You may have to unmute, Shri Govinda.
Yes, Prabhu, thank you very much. You see, the follow-up question was it's kind of bewildering. How is it that I have committed an offense that will resulted me for my coming back in my next life to become crippled? And because of that action that I performed, I've got a serious chastisement in the court of Yamaraj.
Mm-hmm.
And then again, I come back and I still become crippled. So it seems like I've got twice of the punishment to the action that I perform. Is that right? Or how do you explain it?
Well, Krishna says the intricacy of action is very difficult to understand. I think when we sometimes look at karma, we can look at it too simplistically. You know, I did this, therefore I'm now this. I did that, therefore I'm now that. I think it's not as simplistic as I did this, therefore this is happening to me. So if we try to understand and unpack why I have a certain ailment, why I look a certain way, why, you know, I experienced a certain experience in this challenging material world, we may not get to the result of that. We may not find that result. It's just too complex. How many lives do you go back and all of that kind of stuff, where we don't have the facility that the characters of Mahabharata did, where they could ask the rishis, hey, why am I blind in this life? What did I do? And the rishis could give a reason as to which life he did whatever they did to become blind today. We can't do that, and we mustn't lose time trying to do that, trying to unpack it. What's good karma? What's bad karma? What's activity that's not going to give you karma? What can I do now? How can I, now that I know this, how can I adapt my life, adopt the principles of Krishna consciousness, and adapt to a life of being very conscious about what I say, what I think, how I act, and be connected with Krishna, and perform action that elevates me above the modes of nature, and creates a spiritual reaction, a spiritual future for myself, which is based on receiving the blessings of Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hare
Yeah,
Krishna.
thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, I have a question from the purport. The
Sure.
purport to today's text. So if I may share that here, I highlighted it here. Srila Prabhupada is saying that unless one thoroughly understands this superior eternal energy of the Lord, it is not possible to leave the material energy, however one may theoretically speculate on the true nature of the absolute truth. So I need your help in contrasting these statements made by Srila Prabhupada here. One, he's saying here that Srila Prabhupada is saying that unless one thoroughly understands this superior or eternal energy, it's not possible. And Srila Prabhupada again states somewhere, I have to look for it, but we all know, Srila Prabhupada has been saying it in so many places, that we cannot understand Krishna. We cannot understand the absolute truth. So how do we then drop this material energy? If in one aspect we are asked that the only way we can drop this material energy is to thoroughly understand this superior spiritual eternal energy, yet we are also told that there is no possibility to understanding the absolute truth, then where do we stand?
I think that's a great question. If we go to 1855, we get Krishna's answer. To understand Krishna is not an easy thing, but because Krishna is also unlimited, ever expanding. So to understand Krishna, Krishna says, Bhaktyamam abhijanati. Oh, I can only be understood by bhakti. And when one understands Krishna by bhakti, then one enters into a very unique relationship of serving Krishna. And then the superior spiritual energy takes over, because that gives a very specific relationship between the devotee and Krishna. And we see that with Mother Yashoda. Samanyataha. She says, Samanya, this boy is ordinary. He's just an ordinary boy. Why? Because there's a love there. This is my boy. This is my son. He's ordinary. He's misbehaved. I need to punish him. I need to, do something. Now, was she a jnani? No. But did she know Krishna? Well, it didn't matter whether Krishna was the Supreme Lord or not. What mattered was that she had love for him. So Bhaktyamam abhijanati, only by love can I be understood, because that love means entering into this superior spiritual energy of Krishna and being protected in that superior spiritual energy of Krishna. In chapter 7, Dehi Esha Gunamai, this material energy is very difficult to overcome, but he who surrenders unto me can easily cross beyond it. Now that surrender is not that, okay, I'm now surrendered, I've crossed beyond Maya. It's a process. It's a process. In this verse, we hear the word humility. So the first process of surrender is humility. And humility is best exhibited when one submits and surrenders to a spiritual master. Parikshit Maharaj was humble in his submission to Sukadev Goswami. That was the first aspect of his surrender. Then accepting things that are favorable for Krishna, rejecting things that are unfavorable for Krishna's service. Having faith that Krishna is my only protector, accepting Krishna as my only maintainer, offering myself completely to Krishna. And these practices, this mindset of bhakti-amam, of bhakti, gradually allows us to rise above that material energy. We begin to see the material energy the way Krishna sees material energy. And we begin to take further shelter in Krishna. We begin to deepen our faith. And progressively, we grow that faith, gradually growing it to pure love for Krishna. Actually, could you put up chapter 8, text 28, I think it is, or the very last verse of chapter 8?
Okay. I think it's verse 28 you're referring to.
Is that the last verse? Yeah.
Yes.
If you could open up the purport. And I don't see it so clearly on the screen. Let me see if I can read it. Yeah.
Do you want to read the purport or the text itself?
I just want to read the last paragraph of the purport.
Oh, okay. Let me do that.
Okay, I'm going to read it from my side because I can't see it so clearly on the screen.
Okay.
So one who has a little faith in Bhagavad Gita should learn Bhagavad Gita from a devotee, because in the beginning of the fourth chapter, it is stated.
Do you want to share?
Yeah.
Okay, please do that.
The last part of the purpose is here.
Yeah, the last paragraph
Yeah,
of
this
the
is it.
purport.
Oh, very good. Yes.
Go
One
up.
who has a little-
No, go up. Go up
Yes,
again.
Last paragraph. Last paragraph.
Go up. Go up.
This is the last. This is the last
Okay.
paragraph.
Yes. One who.
Yeah, okay, there it is. There it is.
Yeah.
So one who has a little faith in Bhagavad Gita should learn Bhagavad Gita from a devotee, because in the beginning of the fourth chapter, it is stated clearly that Bhagavad Gita can be understood only by devotees. No one else can perfectly understand the purpose of Bhagavad Gita. One should therefore learn Bhagavad Gita from a devotee of Krishna, not from mental speculators. This is a sign of faith. When one searches for a devotee and fortunately gets a devotee's association, one actually begins to study and understand Bhagavad Gita. By advancement in the association of the devotee, one is placed in devotional service, and this service dispels all one's misgivings about Krishna or God and Krishna's activities, form, pastimes, name, and other features. After these misgivings have been perfectly cleared away, one becomes fixed in one's study. Then one relishes the study of Bhagavad Gita and attains the state of feeling always Krishna conscious. In the advanced stage, one falls completely in love with Krishna. This highest perfectional stage of life enables the devotee to be transferred to Krishna's abode in the spiritual sky, Goloka Vrindavan, where the devotee becomes eternally happy.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai. That's beautiful.
It's a very, very beautiful paragraph.
Yeah.
It's an awesome paragraph where Prabhupada connects the progression of faith to love for Krishna through the study and progressive reading of Bhagavad Gita. Isn't it just so beautiful here? So we by this progression, we give up the material energy and become more situated in understanding and becoming more convinced in understanding the spiritual energy. But the process there, Prabhupada says, deeply study Bhagavad Gita in the association of devotees, then all of that progression takes place.
It's interesting how Srila Prabhupada writes. Everything is there. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Everything is there.
Yeah. Anyone else with any question before we let Prabhu go? Prabhu, you are in London, right?
I live in the city of Leicester, which is in the middle of England.
Oh,
It's
Leicester.
about 100 miles north of London.
Oh, Leicester. Okay. Maybe you don't watch soccer, but Leicester City, you're not doing good this season.
They're not doing so good right now, no.
Yes. Okay. Hari Chakra Prabhu, do you have a question? Please unmute.
Yeah. Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you very much. Accept my obeisances. All glories to Prabhupada. This verse that you just quoted. So most of the time I have a problem with a lot of issue, but this verse has also increased my doubt now. So I want a little bit because over the years, what we've been hearing that we've always been advised, oh, read Bhagavad Gita, read Srimad Bhagavatam, read the scriptures, because the scripture is non-different from Krishna. But listening to this purport that you just read, it just struck me that, well, then it doesn't just mean that I should just wake up every day and try to read the scripture, because that alone is not going to help me. I need true guidance, because I may understand English language, I may be scholarly, and if I keep reading the Bhagavad Gita because I think I've gone to school, I can understand English language by myself, and I keep reading and reading. In my understanding, this verse is telling me that that is not the way to go by it. The way to go by it is really try to read the Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam under the guidance of a devotee. So
yes.
Can you give me a little bit, like, because it's like trying to throw me off a little bit.
What part of that do you struggle with?
Yeah, the part that says that Bhagavad Gita must be learned from a devotee. And then you make reference how Srila Prabhupada was making reference to chapter 4. That in chapter 4, Krishna has said that we should approach the devotee to learn the truth from the devotee. Yeah. So, but over the years, I've been hearing, oh, at least every day you should try to read maybe 1 or 2 chapters of the scripture, maybe Srimad Bhagavatam or But the way I'm understanding it now is like it's not just by reading it that is going to help us, but by really reading it and understanding it through the guidance of someone who has the understanding. Or
well, that's why we have our classes. This class, this forum, whether it's in person, whether it's online, this is a forum for us to gather and learn from each other. Somebody will read the verse, somebody will explain the verse, people will have questions. We may learn something from someone else's question. We may learn something from someone else's meditation or realization. So learning from a devotee can mean just coming together with a friend and saying, hey, what did you read today? What did you learn today? Share that with me. I'm going to share with you what I learned today. So it may be as informal as that, and it may be as formal as a Srimad Bhagavatam class, or it may be as formal as doing a particular course on a text. So learning Bhagavad Gita from in the association of devotees can take on a variety of form and approaches, from informal, just doing it with some friends, doing it with family. Hey, what do you all think of this verse? I was just reading this verse and it caught my attention, and I really like what it says here, but I have a question. Can I share that with you? And then and this is what Krishna is wanting from us. In chapter 10, Krishna says, Machita mad gata prana, kathayantas chamam nityam. He says, the thoughts of my devotees dwell in me, and they are busy conversing with one another about me. So that's what it means to read in with other devotees, that we have a conversation. What does this verse mean for you? How might you apply this? What does Prabhupada mean in this line? And the more we have conversations like that, we're realizing what it means to read Bhagavad Gita in association. Just doing our reading on our own is great. Trying to deepen that understanding of reading, when we do it with another person, it becomes greater. And ultimately we realize, His Holiness Jayadvaita Maharaj says, reading means thinking about what am I reading? What does this mean? What am I going to do with it? How can it help my life? What could the next action be that I take from this reading? And we may be able to do that ourselves, but we can do it better when we kind of check in with someone, test it with someone, and try it out, and then go back and say, hey, I tried this out from that reading and I feel really good, or it's made a difference in my whatever that might be. And the other point of doing it in association with another person, it creates accountability. I have to tell this friend of mine, I have to tell this devotee, or I'm going to share my reflection in a sangha meeting with devotees of what I was reading. So because I have to say some words when I meet devotees, I'm going to read, I'm going to think about it, and I'm going to relish sharing it with others. And then others will tell me how they felt by my words. Did my words have an impact on their realization, on their reflection? And then we create this beautiful sharing of Krishna conscious subject matter, Krishna Katha, or subject related to Krishna.
Yeah, thank you for this elaboration. And then I have a follow-up question. My follow-up question is that based on the way you have expanded this explanation to me, then it means that, I mean, if you discuss Bhagavad Gita with or the scripture, any part of the scripture with others, then it's very important to actually ask whatever question that is like bothering you, or trying to go deeper into whichever aspect of the discussion that you are not very clear. And you see, the way we are as humans, we have different levels of understanding. We have different levels of approaching stuff. So in the course of my asking question, maybe because I've dealt with material knowledge, my question might come like very academical, or my question might come. And so if I begin to probe like this and someone is not happy the way I ask my question, how can that help me? Because the idea is for me to understand the subject matter, but everyone has a way of asking questions. I'll give example. It's like sometimes my own case. They will ask me a question, and the way they will ask me question, they can be very technical, because they academically, materially, they have gone to school more than I did. So they sometimes they will ask me question that I feel is so technical. So then I begin to feel, well, are this case trying to, finding ways to ridicule me or something? So the point I want to put across is that in the course of discussion, whoever is like now that you are giving class, should in case I ask a question and it doesn't even sound very like intelligent question, is it not all right for you to actually be able to break it down to my way of understanding stuff, so that at least I can imbibe something? Is that not the
Absolutely.
way it should be?
I completely agree.
Okay.
You know, if somebody's trying to understand something, the job of the teacher is to break it into segments so they can understand, it more thoroughly and more clearly. And you know, just you use different techniques. Even Krishna uses different techniques. You know, Krishna says, "Vasang shijirnani." You know, we give up clothes because they're old and useless. The soul similarly gives up the old and useless body. So Krishna uses analogy. So we use different techniques to help people understand, even help understand their question, but also understand the challenging aspects of our philosophical concepts, so that you know they can build the picture and grasp it. So yes, the duty of the person teaching or answering the question is to help make sure that your question is answered. We should never fear asking a question. Our tradition is based on inquiry. Arjuna said, "Tell me what I should do." If Arjuna was shy of asking a question, we wouldn't have Bhagavad Gita.
No.
You know, Parikshit Maharaj said, "What should a man who is about to die do?" What an amazing question. What a beautiful question. And as a result of that question, we get 18,000 verses. We hear Krishna's incarnations. We hear Krishna's wonderful exchange and relationship with his beautiful devotees. We get an entire tradition out of it. And within that tradition, there is further inquiry. You know, Sutta Goswami, Shonaka Rishi, Vidura, you know, on and on and on. We see inquiry after inquiry after inquiry, because that inquiry churns the subject matter and allows deeper appreciation, deeper affection, and deeper understanding of the subject. So yeah, go on questioning, go on reflecting, go on receiving the answers, and then applying the answers into our life.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Kusha Prabhuji, okay, can you give us a little bit more of your time, because we have one hands up? Kusha Prabhu?
Yeah, should we make this the last one?
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you, Hare Krishna. Thank you for your time. My question is on the guru and the king. The king is considered to be responsible of the citizens, just like a father is responsible to his children, and the guru is responsible to his disciples. So Maharaj Parikshit left the kingdom and went to Sukadev for question. So if a king abandons the citizens and seeks salvation, who takes responsibility of the citizens?
His son.
No. I'm not talking about materially, spiritually. Because the king is not guiding the citizens, then he went for salvation. Then the citizens who look up to him, the king is no longer there. Like the guru must take the disciples back to Godhead. So the king left the kingdom. The son may take over, yes, but spiritual aspect of the citizens, who is in charge?
Well, if the king is a Raja Rishi, if the king is a devotee of God, devotee of Krishna, then that person is going to create the right environment for people to be nourished spiritually, and create an environment like Yudhishthira Maharaj, like Parikshit Maharaj, create the right environment for people to be spiritually elevated. So Parikshit Maharaj left for his, he had 7 days. He wasn't going to hang around. He was going to go and become absorbed in Krishna. And, you know, the arrangements of the kingdom were then handed over, passed on, and, you know, it was now their responsibility to continue that. Parikshit Maharaj's responsibility was to prepare for death. However, in our modern context, the situation and the environment is very different. So the people who have to take care of their own, the people who takes care of spiritual life is ourselves. We have to take responsibility for our spiritual life. Even if we have a saintly environment, it is still up to the individual to take care of their spiritual life, but the environment is conducive for that. In a non-conducive environment of today, we certainly must take care of our spiritual life in the association of devotees, learning from each other, nurturing one another, serving with each other. But I take responsibility for my spiritual life. I take responsibility for, for the chanting I have to do, for the service I have to do, for the learning that I have to do. That's for me to do. And that's Bhagavad Gita. Krishna didn't say to Arjuna that, okay, you're feeling despondent, you don't want to do this, just take a seat. Prabhupada said in one lecture, Krishna didn't say to Arjuna, just take a seat in the chariot and drink and smoke ganja, and leave it to me, I'll do it. He didn't say that to Krishna. He said, you got to take responsibility for your spiritual life. You have to fight. What I'm going to give you is an inner attitude of devotion with which to fight. But you still have to be responsible for fighting. So whether we have a king who creates a saintly environment, whether we have our current environment, we have to take responsibility in helping to create an environment of devotion in which we can flourish, help others to flourish, and take responsibility for the practice of our spiritual life. And then Krishna will send blessings, Krishna will send his mercy, Krishna will send the right association for us to grow in the responsibility that we take. That okay?
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. I personally cherish your answers so much, and I believe the rest of the devotees equally cherish your entire presentation today. And we hope and pray that in the very near future, when we do ask you to bless our platform, you do that, please. We'd like to see more and more of you.
Well, thank you so much. I cherish being with all of you and meeting all of you for the first time. And thank you so much for giving me the opportunity of being in this association.
And
I wish you all the very best in all of your spiritual endeavors and missionary endeavors. And yeah, Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, thank you. So, dear
Jai,
devotees,
Srila Prabhupada.
Jai. Dear devotees, we humbly requesting you all to kindly unmute, and then we chant the loudest Hare Krishna Maha Mantra to express our appreciation to our precious speaker, His Grace Pradyumna Prabhu. Jai. Hare
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
All glories to His Grace Pradyumna Prabhu ki jai.
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 Thank you so much, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Jai. Shri Prabhupada Mahotsava ki jai.
Ambusa.
Hare Krishna.
Okay.
So devotees, we thank you all very much, and we hope to see you again on Monday next week. Today is Friday, the last day of the week, and Monday is the last day of the beautiful month of October. October has really lived up to its name, the month of Sri Damodara. Sri Damodara has blessed us so much with lots of amazing devotees. So may
So-
the Lord be with you all, and we'll meet again next week. Hare Krishna.
Hare